It's 2:47 a.m. on a Wednesday. You're a trauma surgeon at a public hospital in Culiacan. You're 28 hours into a shift. 4 armed men walk into your operating theater carrying a fifth, 3 bullets in his chest. One of them puts a pistol on the instrument tray next to your scalpels. Fix him. If he dies, everyone in this room dies. You fix him, 4 hours of surgery. You pull 2 bullets clean, leave the third because it's against the spine. He lives, they carry him out, no paperwork, no police. You go home thinking it's over. A week later, a man in a suit knocks on your apartment door, clean shoes, expensive watch. He tells you the man you saved is important. He wants you as his personal physician full-time. You say no. The man nods like he expected that, then he starts talking. Your mother lives on Kyla Orion, apartment for B, takes the bus at 7:15 every morning. Your daughter goes to Esquia Primaria Juarez, gets out at 2:15. Your ex-wife picks her up Tuesdays and Thursdays. You pick her up the other days. He says all of this the way someone reads a grocery list, no threats, just information. He says you start Monday. You ask what happens if you refuse. He smiles. Nobody's refusing anything. This is just a conversation between friends. You start Monday. They drive you 2 hours outside the city to a ranch, dirt road, armed guards at the gate. Past the main house, there's a concrete building. Inside a fully equipped operating room, surgical lights, anesthesia machine, ventilator, monitors, better equipment than your hospital has. They've spent more on this room than the government spends on your entire in a year. Your handler is a man named Rafa. He gives you the rules. You live on the ranch. You don't leave without escort. Your phone is monitored. Your mother and daughter will be told you took a medical contract in Terry. You can call them once a week on a phone they provide. If you say anything strange, the call ends. If you try to leave, the call stops permanently. First 6 months, it's routine. The boss has high blood pressure. You manage his medication, bad knee from an old injury. He also has a heart condition, arrhythmia, nobody else knows. He tells you if anyone finds out you're both dead, weakness at the top invites a coup. You keep the secret. You monitor him twice a week with a portable EKG. He talks during checkups about his kids, his wife, a ranch he wants to buy when he retires. He talks about retirement like it's real, like men in his position grow old. You nod, you check his blood pressure. You don't say what you're thinking. Then there's the other work. Soldiers come in at all hours, gunshot wounds mostly, some stabbings, a guy who took shrapnel from a grenade. You operate on a folding table when the barn is full, no anesthesiologist, ketamine and local blocks. You improvise with veterinary sutures when the medical ones run out. A kid comes in, maybe 19, shot through both legs, femoral artery on the left, shattered tibia on the right, 5 hours of surgery. You save both legs. He walks out 3 weeks later. 2 weeks after that, his photo is on the news, killed in a shootout with the military. You saved him so he could die 14 days later. You learn not to remember faces. You treat the wound. You close the skin. You move on. You're not a healer anymore. You're maintenance. You keep the machines running so they can go back out and do what machines do. The boss calls you in one morning, calm voice. He says the feds have his photo in every wanted poster in the country, every airport, checkpoint, police station. He can't move. He's a prisoner on his own ranch. He needs a new face. You tell him you're a trauma surgeon, not plastic. He says you're whatever he needs you to be. You spend 2 weeks studying maxillofacial reconstruction, rhinoplasty, bone reshaping. You read medical journals on a laptop. They gave you no internet. They downloaded everything you asked for onto a hard drive. You practice on cadavers they bring you. You don't ask where the cadavers come from. The surgery takes 9 hours. You reshape his jaw, alter the bridge of his nose, adjust the brow line, thin the earlobes. You work with tools designed for hospital operating rooms in a barn that smells like concrete and disinfectant. 6 weeks later, the swelling goes down. The man in the mirror doesn't match the man on the posters. He tests it himself, drives through a military checkpoint. Soldiers check his ID, compare his face to the photo, wave him through. He calls you that night, laughing says the soldier called him sir. Your hands did that. You made the most wanted man in Sinaloa invisible. After that, the requests keep coming. A lieutenant needs his fingerprints altered, you burn them with acid and graft skin from his thigh. Another one wants a scar removed because it's too recognizable, you do it. You're not a trauma surgeon anymore, you're not a plastic surgeon, you're whatever the organization needs on any given Tuesday. They bring a man to the barn, strapped to a metal chair, hands zip-tied, hood over his head. Rafa pulls the hood off, the man's face is swollen, he's been crying. Rafa says he's an informant, passed intel to the D for 8 months, names, routes, safe house locations. They don't need you to fix him, they need you to keep him conscious, they're going to hurt him and they need him awake for it. Your job is to monitor his vitals, make sure his heart doesn't stop, if he faints, wake him up, if he goes into shock, stabilize him, they want him alive and awake as long as possible. You say no, you're a doctor, this isn't what you do. Rafa looks at you, doesn't say anything for 10 seconds, then he says, Escuela Primaria 215. You put on gloves, you hook up a pulse oximeter to the man's finger, you start in 4 with saline to keep his blood pressure stable. They work on him for 3 hours, you keep him alive, you keep him conscious, twice he passes out, twice you bring him back with smelling salt and adrenaline. You use everything you spent 12 years learning to save people to make sure this man suffers as long as possible. When it's over, they take him out, you don't know what happens after, you don't want to know. You go to your room, you sit on the floor, you look at your hands, same hands that saved a kid's legs, same hands that rebuilt a man's face, same hands that just did that. You took an oath once, do no harm, that oath doesn't live here, those are your hands now. Years pass, you stop counting, you're not just the doctor anymore, you're infrastructure. You know every lieutenant's blood type, allergies, medical history, you know who has diabetes, you know who's on cocaine so often his septum is gone. You know which commander takes anxiety pills and hides it from his crew, you know the boss's heart condition that nobody else knows. You've stitched up men who've killed judges, you've set bones of men who've dissolved bodies, you carry more secrets than any informant the D has ever turned. That knowledge is a leash and a shield, they can't let you go because you know too much, they can't kill you because nobody else does what you do. You're alive because you're useful, the day you stop being useful is the last day, so you stay useful. You keep the boss breathing, you keep his soldiers patched, you keep quiet. You send money to your mother through Rafa's people, your daughter is 14 now, you've missed 8 birthdays. You talk to her once a week on the monitored phone, she tells you about school, about a boy she likes, you say the right things. When the call ends, you sit in a concrete room on a ranch in the middle of nowhere. It happens on a Tuesday, 3:22 a.m. The boss gets hit in an ambush on the highway, 3 rounds to the abdomen. One of them nods. One nod is enough for now, new boss takes over within 48 hours, younger paranoid, he didn't rise through loyalty, he rose through elimination. First thing he does is replace the entire security team, second, he comes to see you, sits in the operating room, looks at the bloodstain on the floor that hasn't been fully cleaned, doesn't touch anything, asks how long you've been here, asks what you know. You tell him you're a doctor, you treat patients, you don't know names, routes, or operations, he knows you're lying. You know he knows, but he's got a problem. Can't trust you because you were the old boss's man, can't kill you because you know every medical secret in the organization and you're the only surgeon within 200 kilometers who doesn't ask questions. Can't let you go because the D would have you in a room within a week and you'd give them enough to dismantle the whole operation. So you stay different boss, same barn, same blood on the floor. He doesn't talk to you during checkups, he doesn't tell you about his family, he sits in silence while you take his blood pressure. That silence is louder than anything the old boss ever said. The war starts 3 months later, 2 factions fighting over the old boss's territory, shootouts every week, you're operating on 3 or 4 soldiers a day, some nights you don't sleep at all. The ranch gets hit twice, bullets come through the barn walls mid-surgery, you keep cutting, you've stopped flinching. Then the new boss makes a mistake, picks a fight with the military, they send 200 soldiers, helicopters, armored vehicles. The ranch is surrounded, in the chaos, your escort disappears, Rafa is gone, guards at the gate are gone, everyone is either running or shooting. For the first time in 8 years, nobody is watching you. You don't think about it. You walk out the back of the barn, cross 2 fields in the dark, reach a dirt road, walk an hour until you find a town, buy a bus ticket with cash you've been hiding in a medical bag for 3 years. Folded bills tucked between layers of gauze. You ride 18 hours to the border. Every time the bus stops, you expect armed men to board. They don't. You cross into Texas, call your ex-wife from a payphone, bring our daughter, meet me in El Paso. She hears your voice and doesn't ask questions. 3 days later, you're in a small town in Texas, no documentation. No medical license that works here, your hands that rebuilt a cartel boss's face that pulled bullets out of teenagers that kept a man alive through 3 hours of torture. Those hands stock shelves at a hardware store for $11 an hour. You see it on the news 6 months later. Armed men walked into a public hospital in Culiacan carrying a man with gunshot wounds. They told the surgeon on duty to operate. Hospital staff refused to comment. Police aren't investigating. You know exactly what comes next. The doctor thinks it was a one-time thing. A week from now, a man in a suit will knock on his door. He'll know the doctor's mother's address. He'll know which school his kids go to. He'll know what time they get out. The doctor will start Monday. He doesn't know it yet, but he already lives on a ranch. He just hasn't been driven there. You turn off the TV. You go to work. You stock shelves. Your hands smell like cardboard instead of blood. That's the closest thing to freedom you've had in a decade. Some people sell their soul. You didn't sell anything. They just took it, and the receipt was your daughter's school schedule. That's a wrap for today. The story you just heard is fiction, but in Mexico, doctors disappear, hospitals get raided, surgeons operate at gunpoint, and somewhere right now, a man in a suit is knocking on a doctor's door with an offer that isn't an offer. If this one made you think, drop a comment, subscribe for more.